The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to the new Fastcase, a live training with the reference staff webinar. You may recognize my voice. If not, my name is Ken Strickland Garcia, and I am the West Coast reference attorney. I'm also on the webinar behind the scenes. Moderating all of your questions is Erin Page, our head law librarian. Now, today's webinar is designed to simply get you comfortable with transitioning from Fastcase 6 to Fastcase 7, or from the older Fastcase to the newer Fastcase. So as a result, unlike our typical hour-long training sessions on Fastcase 7, today's session will be an overview designed to compare how we did tasks in the older version of Fastcase 6 with how we do them now in Fastcase 7. Now, before we dive into the live training, a few announcements. Number one, this session is not approved for CLE credit. However, as always, I promise you will learn a lot. So to repeat, the session is not approved for CLE credit. Number two, please place your questions in the question box, and we will get to as many of them as possible during the session. If we do not get your question answered during the session, we will send the answer in a follow-up email after. Now, the most important announcement is do not fret. The reference team is personally here to guarantee that the migration goes smoothly. Also, and this is important to pay attention to, you will still retain access to the old and new version of Fastcase for the next calendar year. So remember, you will still have both versions. Ideally, we are not here to pull out the rug from beneath your feet, but rather to say, here is a new and improved rug. It's pretty and will not scratch your floors. Try it, experience that new carpet smell. With all that being said, let's talk about how we move from new Fastcase to old Fastcase and back again. This seems like a great place to start. Bear with me one moment as I share my screen. All right. So what you should see on your screen currently is the layout for Fastcase 7 versus your layout for Fastcase 6. Now, right now, most of you default to seeing old Fastcase first. Old Fastcase is, as I noted, what you see on my screen currently. Now, to move to Fastcase 7, you want to look for the sliding button in the top right that says FC. You will notice that we have this sliding button here that says FC to the left of where, so in the top right, and to the left of where you see welcome and your name. Clicking that button switches you over to Fastcase 7. Now, when you are on the newer version of Fastcase, you can switch back to Fastcase 6. So after migration, your default will now likely be, or will be, the screen you see before you. So if you, while you are comparing the two versions, you want to switch from 7 to 6, or from new back to old, you want to look for the icon that looks like a rudimentary outline of a person. Kind of what I would imagine the outline would look like if I tried to draw a person. So we click that icon, a drop-down menu appears, and you'll see from the drop-down menu where it says back to Fastcase 6. So this is how we transition back and forth. All right, now the last spiel in my migration is not scary announcement set is that I really encourage people to take this time to compare both versions and get comfortable, but also take the time to share with us what is working and what is not working for you. The nice part of a small tech company is that you can easily help tailor the platform to your needs by simply providing feedback. So do you have a question, comment, or concern? Shoot it over to support@fastcase.com. We are listening. Now, while we're talking about sharing feedback, let's talk about your support options in addition to email in Fastcase 7. Now, assuming you have a question or your research is going somewhat circular, you always want to find your support options by looking for the question mark inside of a circle icon. That's kind of my quippy way of remembering. Question mark in a circle is where we find our support options. So in the top right here, I'm going to click that icon for you, and a drop-down menu appears with our various support options. Let's go through them in turn. So working from top to bottom, we have first the change log. Think of the change log as being where we find information about updates within updates. So if, for example, you log in one day and an icon you're accustomed to looking a certain way has changed, go to the change log to get details about those kind of minor changes. Now, moving away from the change log, we also have our user guide. So our user guide is broken down, I'm letting my computer catch up with me, is broken down into 14 sections. Now you can download the entirety of the user guide, or you can download individual parts by clicking on the numbers on the right-hand side. So then we have, of course, we have our tutorials. So tutorials are going to be video versions of how to accomplish tasks in Fastcase 7. Below that, we have our webinar schedule. Our webinar schedule is where you can find options for additional training. And then, of course, we have at the bottom of the help and support menu, we have more support options, which is where you find information. This will link you to our full support page. And this is where we will find information such as our support phone number and the like. Bear with me just one moment. Aaron, I believe we're getting some feedback. Can you help me ensure that everyone is muted?
Yes, everybody is muted. It is a very big webinar, so GoToWebinar does have a little bit of lag built in. But that being said, we will try our best to make sure that the presentation goes well. We'll check mics and everything like that. We will also be sending out a recording of this session to anyone who would like to see it later as well. And I also do recommend, if you're having audio issues, trying the phone dial-in option. The phone number for dialing in so that you can hear today's session is 415-655-0060. It will ask you for a meeting code, and that meeting code number is 856-509-903. Again, if you would prefer to hear the phone dial-in option, it's 415-655-0060. and meeting code number 856-509-903.
Perfect. So we do, in addition to what I consider to be our static support options, we do offer live technical and research assistance Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now we offer this live support in one of two ways. You can receive phone support. So phone number for support is going to be 1-866-773-2782, and you'll want to click option 2. Once more, that number is 1-866-773-2782 and select option 2. If you did not catch this phone number, you can also find the phone number by clicking more support from the help and support drop-down menu. Now, in addition to phone support, we also offer chat support. So the way where we find chat support is by clicking our chat tab in the bottom right of the Fastcase 7 page. So if you're accustomed to Fastcase 6, you may remember, so going over to Fastcase 6, you may remember that the live chat box was typically here in the bottom left. Now, a number of people found that to be quite large. As a result, in Fastcase 7, we tried to minimize the chat support box and ensure that it does not intrude visual input. So to access chat on Fastcase 7, you want to look for the chat bubble with the word chat to the right of it in the bottom right. If we click that tab, it is going to open up a box on your screen, and you're going to want to simply enter basic information: first name, last name, an email address in the event we need to follow up, and then a subject line just giving us a brief description of what you're chatting for. I'm researching breach of contract. I need help with a password reset, et cetera, et cetera. I always really like to emphasize chat as being a useful way if you're looking for assistance with research queries. This is because in chat we can send you hyperlinks to search results, and it also just makes it much easier when we're designing elaborate search queries to be able to type them out versus trying to dictate them over the phone. So if you haven't used chat, give it a try. Now let's move away from support options and talk about coverage and content. So in Fastcase 6, many of you know that to generally explore content or browse something like, let's say, statutes within a table of content style format, it was somewhat cumbersome. So you would come to the left column, you would click on the category. So we would click, for example, if we wanted to browse statutes, you'd have to first click search statutes. And then you would have to look for the browse tab above the search bar. We would click that browse tab. And then you had an additional screen and you had to continue clicking. So I clicked the browse tab, and then if I wanted to, let's say I was looking for organ materials, you had to open and open, et cetera, et cetera. There was a lot of clicking involved. Now, in Fastcase 7, we've tried to make the process a little easier, if not a lot easier. So the way that you explore content in Fastcase 7 is going to be by broad jurisdictions. So in Fastcase 7, to browse content, you want to look for the blue browse button to the right of the search bar in the center of the page. So I'm going to click the browse button. Now, once you click the browse button, you're going to get a default menu that is organized by typically a state with associated federal materials. I am located in Oregon, so my default menu is showing me all of the content available for the state of Oregon and related federal materials such as the U.S. Code and the federal district court cases located in Oregon, or federal district courts located in Oregon and their cases. Now, if I wanted to browse, let's say that I wanted to explore the Oregon Revised Statutes in Fastcase 7, I would simply click it from this middle column here. It then opens up my various versions. Now, one thing to point out about the various versions of your statutes is that here you see that we have Oregon Revised Statutes and we have the 2019 edition. Now, the 2019 edition of a statute compilation does not mean that statutes are outdated by a year. What we do at Fastcase is we update individual statute sections following individual legislative changes, and then we will release a fully compiled edition of a statute section when the legislature chooses to do so. So oftentimes they will release their full 2020 compilation months after we have added these sort of section by section updates as we go. So do not fret, your revised statutes for any jurisdictions are quite updated. Now let's click on the 2019 edition, open that up. Now once I click on the 2019 edition of the Oregon Revised Statutes, I get an outline view, and you see here that I have all of my volumes making up the revised statutes in order. Now, if I click on volume 1, for example, it will open up titles in volume 1. If I click on a title, it opens up the chapter within that title, within that volume. Now, as we're clicking, you may notice that there are these small download icons. So the download icon is going to be a down arrow over a dash. Now, if I click the download icon to the left of any organizational group within a compiled set of materials, I can download the entirety of that section in a single PDF. So for example, if I wanted to download Chapter 1 of Title 1 of Volume 1, I would click the download icon to the left of Chapter 1. The only restriction on these batch downloads is that they are capped at 500 pages. Now, once you click your download, it will send you a green box in the bottom right once that batch download is complete. And then, of course, as we continue to break out our sections, eventually we get to individual statute sections that we can open right from this outline view here. So now let's go back to our browse menu and let's talk about how we explore other jurisdictions. So let's assume, and by the way, you saw how quick that was. So in this event, it took me less than a minute to download about 160 pages. So that's a nice perk, is that the downloads are super fast when we're dealing with batch downloads particularly. So here, let's assume that you are based in a certain jurisdiction, but you want to switch it. So to switch it, you want to look for the search bar or the filter bar in the top left that says here, it says change jurisdiction by typing. Well, I think we shall. So in this event, let's look at California. So I'm going to type in California and select it from the drop-down list. And there we go. We have the full menu of sources or of content and sources from California. Now, using this menu is a great way to talk about a content enhancement perk that comes from Fastcase 7. So in Fastcase 7, you do get access to 2 secondary databases free of charge, regardless of subscriber level, that you do not have access to in Fastcase 6. Now, the first one is going to be the Lex Blog. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to scroll through my materials and I'm going to click on Lex Blog. And now I'm going to run a search for COVID-19, assuming I can spell it correctly. So Lex Blog is essentially a source for legal analytics written by legal professionals for legal professionals. Now, when I'm running this search, you can see right away that I get over 1,000 blogs for what is a very current event. So this really shows you the breadth of content you get from this complementary secondary source. If you are not already utilizing Lex Blog, I highly encourage it because it covers so many minute areas of law that it is one of the most useful secondary sources I've come across in a very long time. And that is very high regard for me because I do adore my secondary sources. Now, going back to the browse menu, let's talk about the second secondary source, which is going to be our Juris Pro Expert Witness Directory. I find that directory on the rightmost column. I'm going to click it. I'm going to run a search for, so let's assume that I need to vet or find an expert witness dealing with a child custody evaluation. I can simply run a search for child custody within Juris Pro. I get 70 results of expert witnesses within this free directory that are hopefully experts in child custody evaluations. If I use search result number 2 for Jeffrey Arden as my example, you can see that once I click on Jeffrey Arden, I get a description of Jeffrey Arden. I get where he is licensed. I get his background. I get his experience as an expert witness. I also get his areas of specialty, which, as you can see, include child custody evaluations. So those are the 2 secondary databases that are included in Fastcase 7, as I mentioned already, complementary just by using. So going back to our main page. Now you may notice but I keep clicking on the logo. So the logo in the top left is your homepage button. So remember, logo in the top left is homepage button. So let's talk now about searching. So to start a
Before we go into searching and high detail, Ken, just a question that came up about what we were just viewing. So most accesses to Fastcase provide complete access to all primary materials. So cases, statutes, regulations, court rules, constitutions, all kinds of primary law libraries. The two libraries that Ken just detailed very well are the two secondary libraries that everybody gets access to as bonus content with Fastcase 7. So that would be the Lex Blog platform, which includes the access to all of those legal blogs from those leading practitioners, and the Juris Pro Expert Witness database, which is the one that Ken just demonstrated. So those two secondary databases are available for you, included in your access to Fastcase. Now, we do have other secondary content. Please do reach out to us if you're interested in that content. That content is available as an a la carte add-on to your regular Fastcase access. All right, turning it back over to you, Ken. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Thanks for that very elaborate answer. So with searching, let's start with how do we locate single legal documents? So first, let's talk about how we would do that in Fastcase 6. So we're going to move back over to Fastcase 6. Now, for this example, let's use one of everyone's favorite cases, Marbury v. Madison, which is located at 5 U.S. 137. Now, in old Fastcase, I could enter 5 U.S. 137 in this quick case law search bar. I could also move over to Advanced Case Law Search, and then I would need to click the radio button above the search bar for citation lookup, and then I would then enter, of course, 5 U.S. 137 into the search box, and I would then run the search. And there, of course, is the case that I am looking for. Now, this works quite efficiently if you know the actual reporter information, but let's assume you do not. Let's assume you just know the name of your parties. That is an issue I commonly run into. So let's do that process in Fastcase 6. So in this instance, we're going to go back to the Advanced Case Law Search. We're going to make sure that we have citation lookup selected here. And then we're going to come down here and we're simply going to type in Marbury v. Madison. Now we're going to run that search once more. Now you will notice that I do not just get one result as I did earlier when I had the reporter information. I now have over 4,000. So this was a pretty common concern that we resolved in Fastcase 7 using a feature known as type ahead. So let's move over to Fastcase 7 and talk about how you would locate that same case within Fastcase 7. So in Fastcase 7, you would use type ahead, and you could simply just enter part of the party name. So in this instance, I would come to the search bar and I could simply type in MARB, and I'm going to get a list of suggested documents, one of which contains Marbury v. Madison. If I click from that suggested documents drop-down menu, it takes me directly to that case. And there we go. Now, you could, just like in Fastcase 6, also just come to the search bar and enter 5 U.S. 137 to get the same result. The nice thing about type ahead is you do not have to have full reporter information in order to efficiently access a legal document, is kind of the moral of that story. All right, so now that we talked about running a search for an individual legal document, let's talk about running actual search queries. We're going to, of course, go back to Fastcase 6 to start. Now, for this example, the query I'm going to run is I'm going to look at, I want to find cases in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals that contain the phrase res judicata and the phrase issue preclusion. So let's talk about how we would do this in Fastcase 6. To do this in Fastcase 6, I would do the following. Number 1, I would click on Advanced Case Law Search from the column on the left-hand side. Now, above the Advanced Search box, I would want to click the radio button, so the radio button here for keyword search. Now, below the search box, I would want to designate my appropriate court filter. So I would have to click on individual jurisdictions, then I would have to click on U.S. Supreme Court and U.S. Courts of Appeal. And then last but not least, I would have to check the box for the Federal Fourth Circuit. I would then finally come back to my search box and I would enter my search query. Now, another thing that you may also have noticed is that when I am running this query, I'm only able to really look at one content type at a time. So I run my search. And I get my 76 search results. So there we have our Fourth Circuit cases that contain both phrases res judicata and issue preclusion. Now, of course, you would then want to repeat those same 7 steps if you wanted to run that same query in other jurisdictions or in other content types. So let's compare that process to Fastcase 7. So in Fastcase 7, the nice thing about the search bar is that by default, it runs a search query across all content types for all jurisdictions. So with this, I could just come over here and enter my search query into the search bar. You notice that I did not have to, there's no way to designate this as a keyword search. The search bar recognizes that for you. And then once you have entered your search query into the search box, you can either click enter or click the orange search button to the right of the search bar. So we've done essentially one step so far. Now, once your search results are populated, you're going to have a panel, letting my computer catch up with me here. You will have a panel on the left-hand side that will allow you to narrow. So right now we have just over 17,000 results for our search query looking across all content types for all jurisdictions. Now, the way that we narrow is we use the filters search bar on the left-hand side. So you see on the left-hand side, we have available filters here, and then there's a search bar right underneath it. If I wanted to narrow by the Fourth Circuit, I could simply type in Fourth Circuit, and then select the corresponding checkbox below it. So I've typed in Fourth Circuit. I now check the box for Fourth Circuit. And now I end up with those same 76 cases that I found in Fastcase 6, but with 4 less steps. Now, the other nice thing about Fastcase 7 is you can also add other jurisdictions or content types with ease. All you need to do is you simply need to go back to that same filter search bar on the left. So let's assume that I wanted to add Fifth Circuit cases. I would just type in Fifth Circuit, and then click the corresponding checkbox below it. It is that easy.
Again, so we have a question from the audience, if you don't mind.
Of course.
The audience was wondering, can you only search cases at the same time, or can you get more than one document type at the same time?
No, so you absolutely can. So you can combine jurisdictions, so you could combine courts, but you can also combine content types. I also want to apologize to everyone for my Wi-Fi being a bit slow today. So an example of this would be if I wanted to add, so let's come back up to our filters. If I wanted to add, let's say I was looking at sources from DC and I wanted to add ethical material. So I wanted to add these disciplinary decisions from DC. I typed in what I was looking for. I checked the corresponding box below to apply the narrowing filter. So you always have the ability to expand and contract your materials with simply typing what you're looking for in the search bar, checking the corresponding box below. That easy. Did that answer the question, Erin?
It does, but now we have a question. Let's say that you wanted to search a particular circuit court and the district courts that are a part of that circuit court. Is there a way to do that?
So we're assuming we're looking at something like the Ninth Circuit. Is that correct?
Yes, so the Ninth Circuit and the district courts that are a part of the Ninth Circuit.
Absolutely. So one thing that I was going to touch on later is that we also have the ability to, so we can narrow after we get our search results. We can also narrow before we run a search. So let's assume that in this example, let's go ahead and clear out our filter box here. So let's assume that in this example, so you notice that I have all of my filters here in the top left. So we're going to go ahead and clear those out. And the example I would use is you notice that here, if I come over here and I type in, let's say, we'll use our Ninth Circuit as an example. Let it catch up with me there. So we have our broader categories for our Ninth Circuit, but if we come back, we also have the ability to apply a narrowing filter before we run a search. So let's click on Jurisdiction and Sources. Now with Jurisdiction and Sources, we can work from left to right to apply a narrowing filter. So I would click on, for example, if I clicked on Ninth Circuit, I then have all of these corresponding checkboxes for district courts within the Ninth Circuit. So I could check the box for the Court of Appeals. I could also then come over and select individual district courts as well in order to combine that search into one. I click Done in the top right. And now I have added not only the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, but also individual district courts within the Ninth Circuit. How are we feeling about that?
That's a pretty awesome feature, and it does answer our question. Thanks so much, Ken.
You're very welcome. So, all right. I'm also happy that everyone is asking great questions, so I really appreciate that. So while we're on this page, let's talk about the search results page generally. So if we come back over to Fastcase 6, our search results page is pretty self-explanatory. We've got each of our legal documents corresponding to a search. If you click on the title of one of these cases, it's going to open that document for you. In Fastcase 7, we give people a number of additional options of what we can do with our search results. So let's open up, we're going to open up the search result number 1, so the Ross versus Communications Satellite case. So I open up this case to show you that just like in Fastcase 6, obviously to open a legal document, you simply click on the dark blue title. The other nice thing about Fastcase 7 is that we've made these panels mobile. So once I've opened up this individual case, it has simply pushed my filters panel over to the left, and then my search results over to the left as well. Now let's assume you're like myself and you need to enlarge the legal document panel because in certain ways I am almost blind. So the nice thing about these panels is that you can expand and contract them using these arrows that are in between each panel. So I could come over here and I could minimize the filters panel. I could also minimize the search results. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side, that those panels are still present, but this just allows me to read my case in a larger format on my screen. So we'll come back over and we're going to open these up. And we're going to open up this case in 6 as well. Now, one of the notable differences when we're looking at the search results page in 6 with the case open and the search results page in 7 with the case open is that once you open a case in 6, you lose your case excerpts. Whereas if I'm looking at 7, comparably, I still retain my case excerpts. And for me, when I'm doing research, I don't want to open every single case as I'm going. So the case excerpts containing my search terms are crucial. So that's one nice feature about what we can do with the search results. Now you have 3 additional options in Fastcase 7 that you can do to help make your research administration and management somewhat more efficient using the icons. So let's go ahead and minimize the Ross case so we can focus just on our search results. So from your search results, each legal document will have 5 things. It's going to have a title. It's going to have a case excerpt containing the terms that make up your search query. It's also going to have 3 icons. So the flag icon is going to open up the authority check report. So if I use the Ross case as an example, I click on the flag icon. It opens up, it leaves my text of the Ross case on the right-hand side. It opens up the authority check report on the left-hand side. We will discuss the details of the authority check report in a few moments, but for now, just know that you can access the authority check report, which tells you whether a case is good or bad law and gives you additional citing references right from the search results themselves. Now going back to our search results, the second icon you have is going to be your download icon. So you have the ability from your search results. So let's assume we ran a search. We're looking at our search results, and we can tell just from the excerpts that we want to review these cases later. I can click, click, and click. You notice that as I click the download icon from the search results list, it fills in with orange. This allows me to download these cases later as in a single batch, as a single PDF. So where do we find, so let's assume that you have selected the documents to build a download queue. Where do you find it? Your download queue icon is going to be the large download icon in the top right to the right of the search bar that has followed you from the main page. If I click that icon, you can now see that these are, a pop-up box will open, the download queue box will open, and it's going to show me, I have 2 tabs. The left tab is going to show me the 5 cases that make up my current download batch. Now, if you want to download these 5 documents as a single PDF or a single zip file, you want to double check to make sure they're all correct, and you want to click the download icon in the bottom right of the download queue menu. So I click it. You can then name the batch. So we'll just say test here. And then of course you can download as a single PDF or you can download as a zip file. So those are our options, and then you simply click download there. Now, another nice feature about the download queue menu, or about downloading batches in general, is this second tab on the far right, the Past Download Jobs tab. Past Download Jobs allows you to re-download any previous batch of materials that you have downloaded with no expiration date, simply by coming to this tab and clicking the download icon to the right of any of the batches that you've previously utilized. Now, for me, this is an underappreciated feature because I'm always losing the documents that I download. So remember, there's no expiration date for this. It's a great place for you to come back and say, I downloaded that the other day, I need to redo it because I lost it, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to close out this. Now, the last icon is going to be the star icon or your favorites icon. So if I come over to search result number 1, if I click that star, it's going to also fill in with orange, and it is going to allow me to save that legal document as a favorite. Now, one side note that I will point out is that you may have noticed that our search bar containing our search query followed us from the main page, which we did not have happen in the older version of Fastcase. Now, you may also notice that on the right-hand side of the search bar, there is also a star. So if I come to the search bar at the top, come to the right-hand side, if I click that star, it also fills in with orange, and it allows me to save my search. I like to emphasize this because in the older version of Fastcase, we only have the ability to look at our last 10, or our history of our last 10 searches, whereas in the newer version of Fastcase, you can save an unlimited amount of search queries to rerun in the future. Now, while we're focused on the search bar at the top, you may notice to the left of that star is also a bell icon. If I click the bell icon, this allows me to set up a case law alert. A case law alert will send you an email anytime new cases are published that meet your search query requirements. So in this case, it's going to send me an email anytime I have new published cases that contain the phrase res judicata and issue preclusion that fall within those designated courts on the left-hand side, or et cetera, et cetera. Now, you probably hear me talking a lot about favorites and saved materials and alerts, so where do we find them? To locate our history, our saved materials, and our case law alerts, we want to look for the clock icon in the top right. So that icon is here. I'm going to click it. And then it's going to open up 5 tabs for me. So another nice feature about Fastcase 7 that I touched on a little bit earlier is that we keep your history for searches and documents with no expiration date. So in 6, you only have the ability to see history for your last 10 searches. Now you have the ability to see an unlimited, sort of no expiring period of searches and documents. We've got, working from left to right, we've got our search history on the left, our document history, second tab from the left. Clicking on any of these documents or clicking on any of these searches will rerun that search for you. So that's the nice thing about having this history, because it's not just recording it for you, it also allows you to rerun those searches or re-access those previously accessed documents with ease. Now, in the middle tab, we've got our saved documents. So this is where anything that you click the star beside any of those legal documents, you find those here. The tab to the right of saved documents, we have our saved searches there. And then last, you also have the 5th tab, or the tab on the far right. You have the ability to customize your case law alerts in Fastcase 7. So if you've used case law alerts in Fastcase 6, you may remember that whether you liked it or not, you've got a business daily email for each alert. In Fastcase 7, you have the option, if you want, to get a business daily email per alert, or you can combine all your alerts into one digest email. You can change your frequency from business daily to weekly to monthly, whatever you prefer. Now, a case law alert email is going to look like this. So once you get your case law alert emails, you're going to have the legal phrase at the top of that email. So in this event, I was dealing with a pretty common breach of contract query. Now below that, you notice that I have a case name, and then I have a case excerpt below that case name showing me where my search query is contained within that legal document. The other nice thing about the Fastcase alert or case law alert emails is that I can click on any of these hyperlinks here to open up the full text of that case without having to first log in to Fastcase whatsoever. So you got your coffee, you're reading your email, you want to look at this case, and there it is. So let's go back. We're going to close out these tabs. Now let's move and talk about what we can do with individual legal documents. So we're going to use the Ross case as an example. Let's go ahead and minimize this over here. So anything that you can do with an individual legal document is going to be found in the panel directly above the text of the legal document. So you notice in the top left, we have these colored blocks that we have one block for each search phrase. If I click on, so let's say I clicked on issue preclusion, for example, every time I click, it shows me the location of that phrase within the legal document text. So you just click, 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 and it moves you throughout the case. Now there's also a really nice feature known as the relevant paragraph. So this center icon here, if I click it, it takes me to the most relevant paragraph within this specific case. I don't know if people have utilized that feature at all in Fastcase 6, but I love it in Fastcase 7 because it is typically notoriously accurate. Now you also have a series of icons on the top right-hand side. Your flag icon is of course going to be how you access your authority check report. A red flag means that a case has negative treatment. You have a smaller download icon to the right of that flag. If I click it, it gives you the ability to download. So if I've clicked that small icon, you now notice that I have a download now option. So I can choose, rather than building up a series of legal documents to download as a batch, I can simply download just this single legal document by clicking download now. To the right of the smaller download button, I have the star, of course, to save this case as a favorite. It's already filled in with orange. That means that I've already saved the Ross case as a favorite previously. Now, the last icon to the furthest right is going to be our share icon. Share icon is always indicated by the icon that has 3 dots connected by lines. If I click it, you have 2 sharing options within Fastcase 7. You can email a document to a designated recipient, or you can share a public link with someone. Public links are essentially links that can be shared with anyone, whether or not they subscribe to Fastcase, and public links are available for all primary legal materials, our cases, our statute sections, our regulations, our court rules, and the like. In the dream world, we would also have public links for secondary sources, but that is well out of my control, unfortunately. So a public version of the Ross case will look like this. So as we're scrolling through, you will see I have a link at the top. Now this link does not change. So once you have created a public link for a primary legal document, you can share that with anyone throughout without having to worry about it's going to become moot in the future or expire, I guess is a better way of putting that. All right. So now that we've talked about all of our document management options, let's move on to authority check. So as I promised earlier, let's talk in detail about authority check. So a reminder, we're in Fastcase 7. So let's look at authority check first in Fastcase 6. So if we're looking at the Davenport case in Fastcase 6, we found authority check by looking for the words authority check in the kind of top leftist center, and then you had 2 numbers, one that said these results and one that said entire database, and you had to know the number that you were clicking, et cetera, et cetera. People often said that they had trouble finding authority check, they didn't understand what it was, they didn't understand that you had to click the numbers to open the report. Now, if we look at an authority check report for the Ross case in Fastcase 6, we also see that the layout was somewhat, in my opinion, cumbersome. So we had, the title at the top. We had our negative treatment indicator, the bad law bot here, but the bad law bot indicator was the same color as the rest of the layout of the page. Then we had law reviews in the center. And then, of course, you had your neutral citing cases at the bottom. So functionally, this did get the job done. Issues that people had, unfortunately, was sometimes, because it was a separate tab, sometimes your pop-up blocker might block the tab from opening, et cetera, et cetera. So we tried to really take that user feedback and implement it into Authority Check in Fastcase 7. So I'm happy to say that in Fastcase 7, you don't really have to search around or know what number to click. You just have to always look for the flag. Now, the flag is available in one of two places: from the icon in the search results or above the text of an opened case. So let's click the flag for the Ross case. The case text remains open on the right-hand side. The authority check report is then opened on the left-hand side. Now, beneficial changes to authority check in Fastcase 7. The most important change to authority check in Fastcase 7 is that it is always learning and the AI is always improving. I am not lying when I tell you that I used this case yesterday as an example, and it has improved since yesterday. I wish that I was making this up, but it thrilled me when I was rerunning this example today. So with your authority check report on the left-hand side, you'll now notice that your bad law indicator is now a bright red box that says negative treatment is present in this case. Now, if you somehow miss that big red box with the bad law bot in it, you also have a big red box above the bad law bot box that tells you how many negative treatment cases you have concerning the Ross case at issue. Now, if you scroll down below that, you'll notice that you have the negative treatment cases, just like in 6. You've got your negative treatment cases at the top of your list. So you've got the title of the negative treatment case. You also have a case excerpt with a bolded portion explaining to you why the negative treatment is present. If we look at this Husky versus Ethicon case, we see that the Ross case was overruled by Price Waterhouse versus Hopkins. Now, you also have filters above. So we have 3 filters here. We can organize by date. We can organize by relevance. We can also narrow by our jurisdictions. Now, one feature that I'm thrilled about for the authority check report that's coming in the next several months is going to be a search within feature, which will allow you to designate keywords to help narrow down this list without having to open each individual case. So get excited, because it is one of my most anticipated features coming in the future. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, because we are almost right at an hour, is going to be what I have touched on briefly before, which is jurisdiction and sources. So let's go back to our main page. So earlier, I ran a search, and I showed you how you can narrow once you get your search results. So I had over 17,000 results. I then narrowed by typing in the panel on the left-hand side. You can also narrow before you run your search. So to do that, we click on Jurisdiction and Sources to the right of the search bar. And then, of course, once I click on Jurisdiction and Sources, I have the ability to simply type what I'm looking for. Now, with Jurisdiction and Sources, you can type something as broad as a jurisdiction. So I could type DC, or you could type an individual force. So I could also type Lex Blog. Now, once you have typed in what you are looking for, you simply, as with post-search filters, you check the corresponding box. So type in what you're looking for, check the box below. Make sure you click Done in the top right. And then I could come over here and I could say, run a search for arson, which is Aaron's favorite search, to use as an example. And of course, you can see that I now have my Lex Blog results for arson, and you can tell because I have the application of that filter right there. Now, the other useful thing to point out, let's go back to jurisdiction and sources. In this event, let's look at New York. The other nice thing about the way we have filtered out our sources in Fastcase 7 is if you were a person who was, let's say, consistently frustrated in Fastcase 6, that for state courts particularly, that all of your state courts, so you've had your appellate courts and your New York Supreme Court all grouped together as one. In Fastcase 7, we took that feedback and used it as a way to continue parsing out our courts. So if you look at New York as an example, you can see that we've really broken out our New York courts to where you can really narrow your search to very specific courts, which hopefully will allow you to research a little more efficiently. Now, and we haven't done that just for courts. We've also done that for things like, so if you come over to our court rules, you can see that we've even broken out our appellate division court rules by department. I always tell people, if you have a breakout of something that you are interested in, that is a perfect example of some feedback to provide. But I wanted to point this out because this sort of parsing out of the larger categories has helped me really narrow my research in the process. All right. So as far as live training goes, that is the crux of what I wanted to cover today. So before we turn it over to more questions, a couple of announcements and reminders. Unanswered questions during this live session will be addressed via email after. I ask people to be somewhat patient as we have hundreds of people on this webinar, but I promise we will get to your question in an expeditious amount of time. Also, pay attention to the inbox of the email address you used to register for this session. This is where we will send any follow-up materials as well as a recording of this webinar. Lastly, and most importantly, I want to thank everyone for coming, and please take some time, get comfortable with the new platform. And Erin, do we have any questions? Let's turn it over for questions.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. Let's start with the simplest one. Let's say that you run a search and it is defaulting to that relevance order. How can you change the sort order?
Perfect. That's a great question. So let's run Erin's favorite examples for arson. So let's go ahead and we're going to come over here and let's say that we are just apply the Fourth Circuit, because why not? Okay, so as you noted, by default, it's going to sort by relevancy. If you look above, so we have our search results here. If you look above the search results, we have these varying, I call them our sorting options. So you can sort by. So on the right-hand side, you see where I'm hovering. If I click date, I can order by date. I can also do orders by what we call total sites versus cited in results. So if you are, let's say you're doing your research and you really want to find that Kapow case, and so you really want to locate something that has been discussed by a number of other courts or other jurisdictions, you look at these two numbers on the far right side. So if we used the United States versus Knight case as an example, you'll see that the two numbers on the right-hand side, it has been cited to 66 times by other cases within the Fastcase repository as a whole, and it's been cited to 7 times by other cases within our search results. Now you can also sort, so I could click on total sites, for example, and it puts Shaw v. Stroud at the top. So if you look at the Shaw v. Stroud case, you can see going to the right-hand side, it has been cited to by other cases within Fastcase as a whole over 2,000 times. All right, Aaron?
Great. So the next question we had, is it possible to set a default jurisdiction, and if so, how?
Great question, and I am ashamed that I did not cover this already. So the way that we set our default is quite easy. So what we want to do is we want to click on jurisdiction and sources. You want to, so you can either type in what you're looking for in that search bar, or you can simply manually apply a filter by working from left to right. So notice on the left-hand side, we have broad categories. We've got them for state/territories, we've got them for federal circuits, and we've got them for secondary content types. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can really see those. So if, for example, I wanted to focus on Colorado, so I click on Colorado on the left, as I noted, if we're working manually, work left to right, I click on Colorado, I get all of the relevant checkboxes for Colorado materials. I could, let's say, click on all of my state courts in Colorado. Once you have manually applied that sort of jurisdictional set you want to narrow by, or that you're going to consistently want to narrow by, you want to double check it in the top center. So you see I have in the top center here, I've got a blue box for Colorado Supreme Court cases. I've got a blue box for Colorado Courts of Appeal. Then, as always, click Done in the top right. Those same two blue boxes for your narrowing filters are now below the search bar. Now, as always, if you want to save something as a favorite, look for the star that's closest to it. So I've got the two blue boxes. To the left of those two blue boxes, I have got a star that is transparent, and that's never a positive thing because we like that to be filled in to designate as a favorite. I click the star. It fills in with orange. This has now saved that set of jurisdictional narrowing areas as a favorite. Once something is filled in with orange, you'll now notice that a white box has appeared below it that says Save as Default. I simply click it, and now my new default narrowing area is anytime I run a search, it's going to be only looking for search results within Colorado Supreme Court cases and Colorado State Courts of Appeal cases. Now, if you want to change your default source, so let's say that you applied this, but you're like, I want to go practice in Hawaii or wherever. Sky's the limit. You can change a default by either, number one, going through that entire process once more, or using the gear icon. So far right of the search bar, we've got a gear icon. You click it. You get 4 tabs that open up. You click Saved Sources. So Save Sources, second tab from the right. So remember, gear icon, far right of the search bar. Second tab from the right for Saved Sources. You can see up top, it says that my default search source is those Colorado areas. If I come down here, you can see other things that I had previously saved as a favorite. I could hover over like all Oregon courts, for example. Hover to the right-hand side. I can make Oregon courts my new default. Now you see that my default search source has now changed to courts in Oregon. Close it out. And now you see that those 4 blue boxes from Oregon have now taken the place of the 2 blue boxes from Colorado. How's that?
Perfect. Okay, next question coming up. Is there a place where you can see information about the statutes? So for example, can you see where when the last time it was updated?
You can. Aaron, I'm ashamed that I haven't pointed these things out already, so thank you for calling me out on this. So you find update information. So let's say that you were like, I don't believe what you're saying about the whole 2019 edition, blah, blah, blah. You can get that information under the Browse menu. So you can double check my assertion, so to speak. So we click Browse. Now you'll notice that, so let's say that I was looking at Oregon Revised Statutes. I've got this I to the left of it. If I hover over that I, so we're looking at Oregon Revised Statutes, it tells me it was last updated on August 8th. So you don't have to take my word for it. Just look for the I. The way to remember that is if you look for the I, it never will tell a lie. I just made that up, but maybe it's quippy and a way to remember. But that's where you find that information.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we do have a question. Is there a way that you can see Fastcase on a mobile phone?
There is. So we currently have, if you are an iPhone or iPad user, you can download the mobile app. We also have an Android mobile app. That is one of the exciting changes coming in the next several months, is that all of the mobile apps are getting a nice fresh reboot, and they're going to work even better than they do currently. If you are an iPad Pro or a Microsoft Surface Pro tablet user, and you have your tablet browser that automatically converts your mobile web pages to your kind of a desktop format, you can also simply use Fastcase on a normal kind of Safari browser on those respective mobile devices, being the tablets. So.
Perfect. Okay, looks like we've actually hit most of the questions that everyone has. The one question that I have, how do people get support with Fastcase? I know you mentioned this at the beginning, but we did have a number of people join us a bit late. So
Yes.
Can you tell us more about support?
Yes, I would love to. So we have live support available from our star-studded reference attorney team, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can do that via phone or chat support. Chat support is found in the bottom right of your main research page. So you look for that little chat icon in the bottom right. If you click it, as I'm doing here, it'll open up a box asking you for basic information. You fill in first, last name, email address, and a subject line of what you're seeking assistance with. If you are a person who is looking for assistance with research queries, I always encourage people to use the chat versus phone option, because it is always a little more efficient for us to be able to send you like hyperlinks to search results and efficiently type out what are often our, I like to think, impressive and somewhat detailed search queries. Of course, we have phone support. If you did not catch the phone number, you can find that by clicking on the help and support icon. So help and support icon, question mark inside of a circle. In the top right, you click it. If you click on more support, it takes you to our full support page. If you come down to the bottom, our phone number is right here. Let my computer catch up with me. It is 866-773-2782, option 2. Now, if you are not needing live support, of course, as you're going throughout this page, just a reminder, we have a written user guide, we have our additional training webinars, and we have our tutorial videos. So make sure you check all of those out.
Perfect. Okay, since it's another popular question, I'm going to go ahead and answer this one. We've had a number of people ask if they can view today's session again. So I just wanted to point out that we will be doing this session again live every remaining Wednesday in August and all Wednesdays in September. So if you have a question that comes up, you're welcome to join us live on another Wednesday session. We will also have a recording available, so if you just want to listen to it on your leisure, that will be available as well. Keep an eye on your email for the link.
And we always, I will also add, I always welcome feedback about these sessions. So let's assume that there's just an area that I've talked through some things and you're not yet comfortable with it. Feel free, shoot an email over to support@fastcase.com. I'm happy to add that to the next training. All right. Any more questions, Erin, or is that it?
I think we got them all. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for today's session. We hope that this was useful, and we hope that you will join us again for our other training sessions. On Thursday afternoons, we offer CLE accredited sessions, and you can sign up for those on our support page. fastcase.com/support. And I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. And as echo what Ken said, please send us any feedback or questions that you might have. And we'd love to follow up with you with any question or issue or suggestion that you might have.
And lastly, remember, migration is not scary. We will make it as seamless and frustration-free as possible.
Excellent. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.